Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Personal Trainer Hustle. And today we are getting into a question. So one of you guys has sent in a question. We're turning it into an episode, a Q&A episode today. For those of you guys that maybe want to send in your own questions and have them answered on the podcast, make sure you guys go to personaltrainerhustle.com. You guys can fill out the form there, just like this listener did, and send in your own personal question. You guys can also do it through Instagram. I've gotten a lot of messages on Instagram. So if you guys want to follow and DM me at Personal Trainer Hustle on Instagram, you guys can do that as well. But let's get into today's question. It's an interesting one. We're going to go a few different places with this question. So this question comes in from listener Joanna. And Joanna says, "Hi, I'm 45. I travel to my customers twice a day, 30 minutes each time. I would love to expand outside that Jewish community to have options to work physically less and make more money. Preferably transition to online in the future too. Too little space here to explain completely." All right. So with Joanna's question, I actually reached back to Joanna and I said, "Can you elaborate a little bit more?" Because, it says you don't have a lot of time. I was a little confused about the question. And so she expanded. She's Polish. She is in this Jewish community. She travels, and is feeling like she's using up a lot of her time traveling, having to do another job as well. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to talk about the realities of our job and of starting a personal training business, right? So this is a very common thing that a lot of you guys are going to relate to, and that is when I'm starting off, I'm spending so much time getting to my clients. I don't make enough to let go of the other jobs that I may be having, and so we find ourselves in this in between stage where I don't have enough money for my clients to make it a full-time job. And I also need another job in order to sustain my life until this other thing takes off. And so you're kind of stuck between these two worlds. And the issue here is usually one holds back the other. And so this is just a very common thing that happens to a lot of people. And so I'm going to, address Joanna's question directly with some of the details that she has sent in, but I want you guys to really consider this for all of you guys that find yourself in this situation, in this place where how do I make more money? How do I work less? This is this is the question that an entrepreneur is actually needing and having to answer. And it is not a simple one because you have to think differently. Okay. So, what I'm going to tell you right off the bat, Joanna, is the question that you're trying to answer cannot be answered by thinking like an employee. And so, what happens is a lot of us, and I've talked about this before in the past, but a lot of us come from a background of being an employee, and we rely on the guarantees that an employment, gives us, right? Most people prefer being an employee because it comes with guaranteed hours. It comes with, certain benefits. Sometimes it comes with guaranteed time off, right? So in these guarantees is where most of us are used to living. And so when it comes to this other issue of working less and making more, well, that is a more complicated question to answer if all you've ever been conditioned to do is to trade money for time. And so that's the first thing that I want you to start thinking about here is, I can't keep trading money for time if I want to get to the next level. Now, with that being said, in the beginning and where you are right now, you are going to have to make a big sacrifice, okay? And this is what happens to most people. This is, in my experience, Joanna, this is what makes or breaks a personal trainer. The feeling that you feel right here, right now, where you are struggling, where you're balancing a lot of things, where you maybe don't have enough clients or you're not making enough money or you're feeling like you're stuck, right? You don't have enough time to go to your clients twice a day and on top of that balance other things. Welcome to trying to be an independent personal trainer. Welcome to trying to achieve your goals. Okay. So, what I need you to understand, all of you guys in this position, is that this is what you have to go through. There is nothing wrong right now in your situation if you're going through this, but this is literally the price you have to pay in order to get certain some of the things that you want here, okay? So, yes, you want to make more money and use less time. And you're thinking maybe I go online, maybe I do this. This is a very common issue when we become desperate. One of the biggest mistakes that we make when we become desperate, when we find ourselves backed up against the wall here, where we don't see a solution out, when we feel overwhelmed, what ends up happening, and I'm telling you because it's happened to me many, many times in my career, you start trying to do everything. You start trying to dabble in everything instead of focusing on the main thing. And so what happens is you pick up hours here, you pick a client there, you know you're tired, so you start maybe dabbling in online stuff. So now you have online, you have in person, you have group fitness, and you have a side hustle, and now you have four things. And the issue is that solves the problem that you have right now, which is I'm not making enough money, right? So I'm just going to do more work to make more money. It solves the issue in the short term, but what it does is it robs you of your long-term goals. And so let's see if we can find some type of solution here, some ideas in order to start to overcome that. So number one, you're going to have to pick your lane. And it's very difficult to pick the lane right now because you don't have a lane exactly established, right? In your email, you said, you have some group fitness classes that you do, it's seasonal. You also have some one-on-one training, and then you also have some side gigs to kind of keep you afloat. And so the issue here is you're still trying to figure out what avenue is going to best suit you. What I would say is just be honest with yourself between your group classes, between your one-on-ones. What do you find comes easier? What do you find is more beneficial to you? Just weigh the two, right? Where are you making more money? Where do you see more growth potential? And you're probably going to have to start honing in on one of those ideas, because the more you do everything, the more you're going to get nothing done. And that's just the harsh reality of the situation that you find yourself in right now. But just know that we all find ourselves in those situations because, again, you're going to have to make sacrifices for what you want, and you're going to have to get through this phase of your career in order to get to the phase where things become easier. In you solving this issue, you will solve many other parts of your business, and it's going to pay you back long term, right? So it's kind of like in fitness, learning your techniques down early so that later on you don't have the risk of injury. It's kind of the same thing. If you can manage to figure things out right now early when it's all chaotic, what you figure out is going to carry you a lot further in the long run. But right now, it's time to figure it out. And Joanna, let me tell you something. This is the game that you're playing. This is the truth of being in business, right? This is why most people prefer to have employment over being self-employed, because it is difficult. And I just have to tell you that because not just yourself, but a lot of people don't realize what we're getting ourselves into when we want to generate money from nothing, right? Generating a client, generating two clients, generating a brand, generating a business from nothing, going from obscurity to popularity, going from no clients to enough clients, going from an unpopular trainer to a popular trainer. This is a very difficult journey to go into. This is why most trainers at some point have to either go back and get a job, keep a side job, or quit personal training altogether. That is the reality of what we're doing because you are trying to create a company, and that is not easy. Most companies go under, most companies never make it because it is a difficult thing to figure out. And that is exactly what you're feeling. So I just want to be honest with you and say, hey, this confusion that you're feeling, that is business. That is trying to become a self-employed. Most of the time, we all only want the benefits, right? Everybody says, oh, I want my time and I want to make money, but that's a long journey, right? For me, Joanna, I kind of solved that problem for myself. But in order to do that, I had to create a gym. And it's taken me many, 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 many years of working at it, Joanna, of getting an employee, of coaching that employee, of building a brand, of losing money, of making money. It's a long journey, but now I have a staff of trainers and everybody gets a cut of the training sessions and I get a cut too. And that is my take home money that I didn't go into the gym and train for, but I'm telling you that that took a many, many years, almost 10 years of work in order to have that part of the success, quote unquote, story. Now I have my time and I have income, but it's not going to happen right away. I got to tell you, you're going to have to figure out how to, number one, I'm going to be honest with you. And I keep saying that, but this is just a reality check for a lot of you guys starting off. You want everything, but you're not paying the price that it takes to have everything. The first thing that you're going to have to figure out before you get time is you have to figure out how to be busy, right? Do you know how to get 5 clients, 10 clients, 20 clients? Do you even know how to do that? If you don't know how to generate leads, if you don't know how to sell training, if you don't know how to promote yourself, then you're never going to be able to promote yourself enough to pull yourself out of the business, to pull your time out of it, right? If you don't know how to get 5 clients, then how are you ever going to get your time back? You're always going to be struggling to get through the phase one. So right now, my number one advice, Joanna, is you have to go all in on branding yourself, on marketing yourself, on getting your name out there. I don't know if you want to brand it on your car. I don't know if you want to pass out coupons door to door. I don't know if you want to get referrals from the people you're already training with. Maybe you create a Groupon or a living social type of a discount, or you create advertisements for Facebook and Instagram. Whatever path you choose right now, you need to start to generate clients. You need to start to generate leads. That's the number one thing if you want to buy back your time. You have to have a surplus of income in order to begin to trade time, to trade that income for your time, right? Because eventually, if you want to make more, you have to have higher quality clients, or you have to have more clients, or you have to have staff to help you fulfill the sessions. But these are just a few ways in which you're going to work less, at least less in the sessions. You're always going to have work. There's no easy path here. You're always going to your work is just going to have to change. And now you're managing your trainers. Now you're managing the whole business. But that's kind of how you're going to have to do it. So the quality of what you do has to increase, or the quantity of what you have has to increase, which was my number one note here. Okay, so I'm going to have some questions for you here and just some things for you to consider. The first thing that I think that you may be struggling, so let's get into my points here. Number one is you're probably not charging enough, or you don't have enough clients, right? It's one of the two, maybe both, but I'm going to go ahead and say that you are feeling that commute time because you're probably not charging enough to make up for the commute time. And so when you say, "Oh, I have to go twice a day and I'm spending 30 minutes to get there, 30 minutes back," that's an extra hour of my time that I'm not getting paid. That is one of the issues with mobile training or mobile services. It's a very common frustration that mobile coaches have, is all this downtime, all this travel time that is not accounted for, right? So you're spending all this time in your car getting somewhere, and then if you don't charge enough for that, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel like, man, I just spent 2 hours of my time for this amount of money. It's just not worth my time. So one of the things you need to figure out is how to increase the value of your training so that you make more for your training. Now, again, how do you do that? That is what you, as an entrepreneur, as a self-employed person, has to start to figure out. How can you make your sessions so good, so valuable, so important, so life-changing for them that they're going to want to pay you more? That even if your current ones don't, the referrals that you get, you bring those in at a higher rate. I did 2 episodes that I need you to go back and listen to recently. Okay, they're very recent. Maybe you already heard them. If you already did, I need you to go back and listen to both of these episodes again, okay, because they're exactly in line with what you are kind of trying to solve for here. So one episode is 141. Episode 141 is called A Simple Method to Increasing Your Rates. Okay, that episode talks exactly about how are you going to begin to get higher paying clients? How do you get your current clients eventually to pay you more? This is going to solve that frustration of all the time you're giving to something and not making more money. So that's one way to solve for it. The other episode I want you to listen to is episode 143. Episode 143 is called The Three Hard Truths About Your Personal Training Career. And in that, I go into just the reality. I kind of briefly touched on it right now, but episode 143, The Three Hard Truths of Your Personal Training Career, I need you to listen to that so you really understand what you're up against when you want to be a private, freelance personal trainer. If you want to have your own business, you have to understand the reality of what you're getting yourself into. You cannot think that this is going to be easy, and you cannot think that you're going to make all this money right off the bat. Now you have unrealistic expectations of what this business really is. So if you can listen to that episode and confront that reality and rise to the occasion, that's going to be one thing that helps you. And then obviously the other thing is 141, just helping you increase the rates with the clients that you already have. Okay, because that is very frustrating. I have been there when I didn't charge enough. And obviously when you start, you just want to make something, right? But what happens is eventually when you get the ball rolling, you start to get tired of showing up for such a low rate, right? So you find yourself stuck in this weird situation where you're spending a lot of your time and not getting enough back. So you're probably not charging enough. And on the other side of that, you probably don't have any type of marketing or advertising so that you feel secure that you're going to get new leads. Okay. This is another big issue that almost all new personal trainers have, right? The uncertainty of how to get clients is literally why you cannot make decisions. This happened to me for many years. Every month, I was worried that we weren't going to have enough new clients. And so I would behave in a very conservative mindset, right? I would conserve finances. I wouldn't invest, right? I would hold back. I would be fearful. I had a bit of a scarcity mindset because month after month, I was worried if we were going to get leads next month. Eventually, I got the ball rolling and we have enough reputation. I had enough advertisement. I felt comfortable saying, you know what? I know that every month I'm going to have new clients. So many so that I can begin to hire people because I know that I will always have more clients come in than the amount of clients that I personally can service, right? But again, that's where you want to get to, but you need to figure out your advertising. You need to figure out your marketing. You need to figure out your branding, right? That's the other part of business, not just your training. You have to put your name out there so that you can start to predict, you know what? Every month I get one new client. Every month I get three new clients, right? Every month I get 10 new clients. If you can begin to predict your income or your leads, you're going to feel safer in your business. You're going to be able to jump ship from the other things that you're doing, right? If I told you, hey, Joanna, every month I'm going to give you five new clients. If you knew that, wouldn't it make it easier for you to leave the side job? Wouldn't it make it easier for you to increase your rates? Of course it would. It's the uncertainty of your marketing, it's the uncertainty of your advertising that's holding you back. And so I would suggest you grab some advertising books, some marketing books, right? Just print out some coupons and hand them out to your community. I can't give you all the answers. I just need you to understand that you need to promote yourself. You have to promote yourself every single day. That is one of the most important jobs that you can have in order to start to build security in your brand, right? If you don't promote yourself, at the end of the month, again, you haven't moved forward, and so you're going to feel frustrated. Here I go again, a new month, training my two clients, driving 30 minutes each way to make no money. So now I'm getting frustrated. Now I don't know what to do. Now I'm thinking maybe I should do online, maybe this, maybe that, right? So it's the uncertainty of your income. And this is what we all have to figure out. Every personal trainer, every single business, as a matter of fact, has to eventually figure out how to generate enough income every month so that they can predict future growth to a certain degree. Nothing's ever guaranteed. Businesses go under all the time, but to some degree, you have to move forward in that area. So that's number one. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about is you have two options here, okay? You can either like you said in your question, you can expand. Okay. So you have some places to expand even within your community, but you can also niche down. So you have two options. You can expand or you can niche down. Okay. When I say expand, what I mean by that is you started with Jewish women. That is your niche right now. This is who you feel comfortable training. But just because you do that doesn't mean you can't train somebody who's not Jewish. It doesn't mean you can't train a man. It doesn't mean you can't train somebody who's older. It doesn't mean you can't train somebody who maybe is of a different um, religious belief, right? So you have room to expand, right? I personally, I'm not Jewish, but I train Jewish people. I also train, you know, all sorts of people. I train Catholic people. I train Christian people. I train atheists. I train gay people and straight people. I train, all sorts of ethnicities come to the gym. All sorts of political backgrounds come to the gym. So sure, I can train people that are in my community, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? I get along with so many different people that even as a young straight male, I can work with an older gay woman. It doesn't matter, right? Again, because I'm willing to expand, I can go further and see if I can grab from other communities. Um, or you can niche down, right? Do Jewish women, do Polish women, do women in general need your assistance? You can also go the niche route and you can start to know exactly who your target is, right? And you can start to talk to that audience. If you know who they are, you can speak their language. You can speak to what their concerns are, what their beliefs are, right? I actually made a note here just to show you kind of how branding can work, right? I thought of something that in the Christian belief, it exists. I don't know if it's the same in the Jewish beliefs, but there is this belief that the body that we have is the temple of God, right? The body is where our spirit lies, right? So if you have that belief, then taking care of your body is also part of your faith. It's also part of your belief. So what I was thinking was you could begin to brand yourself in that way. You can make advertisements, you can make coupons that speak to that to motivate women or men or anybody to say, "Hey, just as we take care of our soul and our spirit, don't we also need to take care of the body that holds it, right? So you can have something like, when you honor your body, you're honoring God as well. And so you can niche down. I'm just showing you how you kind of have to think about branding, right? So as I was making notes for you, I was thinking, there's kind of like a niche branding slogan type of thing here that you could use. And now you can tweak it, you can make it different. Maybe I'm completely off base here with what I'm saying, but I just need you to think about how you can hone in and speak the language of those women in order to connect with them and motivate a certain population to begin to take care of their health. Whereas maybe they're not doing that. Maybe they're sacrificing for their children. Maybe they're sacrificing for their husbands, right? But they're not giving themselves time. So you do have some niches there if you wanted to dive deeper into it, right? So you could do that, or you can expand and say, hey, you know what? I'm not just going to be a trainer in this community. I need to go bigger. You can do that as well. But it's just, you can do both. You know what I mean? You can have some advertisements for everybody else and some and just see what you gravitate to. Again, early in your business, this is the time to pay attention to what's happening. You are going to try many things, and you have to be um, aware enough and wise enough to see. I tried a boot camp and 10 people showed up, but when I tried one-on-one training, only one person called me. Maybe boot camps gravitate to me, right? I tried men and I tried women, and I saw that actually a lot of men like to work out with me. I thought I was going to be a Jewish woman trainer, but I'm noticing a lot of Jewish men need training. I don't know, right? So you have to be wise enough to try different things, but also see what's actually happening, because sometimes we're so set on doing this one thing that we completely miss the thing that is actually for us, right? The community that's actually for us. So you have to be wise enough. You have to try many things in the beginning, but then as you see what works and what doesn't work, you have to keep what works and then just expand and try new things that didn't work. Just change those out. That's part of being a business person. That's part of being self-employed and an entrepreneur. Um, You're absolutely right. Traveling is hard. Okay. So this is the third point I wanted to make. Traveling is hard. Okay. It's a lot of time. One of the pieces of advice that I give with this is sometimes making a park, right? If you don't have a location, maybe you can make a local park your home base. What does that mean? What that means is you invite people when you advertise or when you're putting your name out there, you advertise this local park as your ground zero. It is your home base. Now, you may still travel to people, but you may be able to get two people that meet you at the park back to back. That's going to save you a lot of time, right? But you have to let them know that that's where you work out. And so even though you don't have a facility, you still have a place to call home. And so you can get somebody to come in at 9 and meet you at the park and somebody right after at 10. You just saved yourself all this travel time. You could do two people back to back at the park and then head back home, right? And then maybe you have another one at 11 at home, but now you saved time. You were able to get three people done between 9 and noon. So that little hack is going to start saving you time. But that's just something that you have to throw out there. The other thing is you need to narrow down your community first. Go in as tight as possible. In the previous episode, I think I talked about, at least in one of the recent episodes, I was talking about how you have to see yourself as a local store, right? So I just said this in the previous episode. When you're going to order food, you order from, the restaurant near me, right? That's exactly what we type. We type in Mediterranean food near me, pizza near me, gym near me. And so what you need to realize is you need to be part of this little community first. You have to be the grocery store in your community, which means that everybody that's near you wants to come to you first, and you have to brand yourself around that, and then you expand. That's why it's kind of dangerous what you're talking about going online. I know online seems better to a certain degree because you feel like you're going to save more time. And that's true when it works, but the issue is, how are you going to get clients online if you're having, and I don't know if this is true, right? But I'm just going to make an assumption here. If somebody's having a hard time getting clients locally, you're probably going to have an even harder time online because online is a vast ocean. And so it is so big, it's going to be hard for them to find you in your little town. It's so much easier as a new trainer, as a local trainer. It's going to be much easier for you to get clients in your neighborhood than trying to go online, right? If you see yourself like the local pizza shop, right? It would be ridiculous for a local pizza shop to take orders and have to put the pizza on an airplane and make that pizza travel all the way across the nation to drop off that pizza. That's why the other people have their own pizza place, right? So you have your pizza place, and people in another state and country have their own pizza place. There is enough pizza for everybody. I'm saying that to say we need to start to realize that when you're new, you're better off being the local personal trainer that your local people are going to find, because when they want a coach, they're going to go, who is the coach's nearest me? They don't want to drive either. So it makes sense, right? If I was going to get a coach, or when I go to kickboxing, I don't go, oh, this kickboxing gym is the best in the world, but it's an hour flight away. So twice a week, I'm going to get on a plane and go train with them because they're the best. No, I have to find the best option near me. And so your customers are going to do that. You just have to be the best option near them. So I just wanted to talk about that with your whole travel time. Niche down in your area, or find a local park or workout area that you can begin to call home. It's going to start to save you time. And a third benefit that just came to my mind is when you workout at a local park or location or whatever you want to call it, other people there are going to see you train. And now you're actually showing off your training. So if you set up a little table every time you have a client, then people are going to take a coupon from that table. People are going to go and take a picture of your phone number at that table. And so you're using this client to get the next client. Whereas when you're at home, nobody gets to see that session. You have to record it, you have to advertise, you have to post, because nobody gets to see the session that out. So there are benefits to that. Obviously, the weather is an issue there. Permits sometimes can be an issue there. Of course, it's not a perfect solution. But if you're not at a place where you can actually pay to lease a location and buy equipment and start a gym, this is a good alternative just to get the ball rolling. So I just wanted to mention that. In line with that, I was going to ask you, maybe you can consider having a boot camp. The beauty of a boot camp is that it's scheduled and you can get a lot of people to show up and you can again make more for less time, right? So let's say you have if you can build it, here's the sacrifice, right? When you start, you're not going to make very much. So let's say you're charging $25 to join your local boot camp. In the beginning, you might only have one person show up. So in that beginning, it's going to feel like you might as well do one-on-one training because you could charge two or three times, four times that. But the beauty of this path, if you take it, is that if you have a boot camp, let's say once a week, twice a week, three times a week, people know where it is. You only have to drive to one place, and everyone else has to make the trek. So you're putting the time back in their hands. They're the ones that have to drive the 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes to get to you. And if you can make it work, now you can have, 10 people paying you $25. So you're making the 250 there, you're making way more than you would have made in a single boot camp. But here's the issue. You have to give up time first because you're going to start with one person, two people. Sometimes nobody shows up, right? The beauty of the one-on-one is that it's more guaranteed and more certain, but it is a higher rate. A lot of people struggle with finding clients that can pay that for fitness. A lot more people gravitate to local boot camps because they are more affordable. So there's give and take there, right? You are going to be on a schedule, but this also helps you promote. It's a lot easier, right? Let's say you have a local park where you're going to start your boot camp. You can make coupons and you can go to the park every day and just hand them out to people at the park. Why? Because you already know these people live close enough to get to the park. So all you have to do is invite them to come at whatever time you suggested and tell them, the first three are free or whatever. You talk to them, you tell them about the benefits, you tell them about a little bit about yourself, and you're promoting yourself in the community. And if it works, you're going to get a lot more from the same amount of time that you would have for a session. So that's just something to consider. Um, if you want to go down that route. I think that's it. I am just reviewing my notes. Yes, of course. So those are just some things that I would consider. Okay. Now, when you want to jump ship from your, let's say from your side job, or let's say you want to only focus on one-on-one training or online training, um, again, you want to get the ball rolling to some degree in whatever direction you're going to go, right? So what I would say is once you have enough clients where let's say you make up for the boot camp that you've been doing, then you can let go of the boot camp because now you have a client to make up for that. If you try to balance both for too long, you're not going to give the boot camp people the best and you're not going to give your new clients the best. So there is some overlap where when you begin going down the road, you can begin to let go of other things. Let me tell you why. Because you can now give more energy and more time to the thing that is working, right? So we have to let go of the little things to get the bigger things, right? I always say this sometimes like with blessings in life, right? We want to hold on to, a cup of water, right? But we don't realize that the moment we let go of this cup of water, we're going to get a gallon of water, right? But you can't get the gallon until you let go of the cup. And that's a very difficult thing for us to do, right? We want to hold the gallon and the cup at the same time. But a lot of things in life do not work out like that. It's just a rule of life. When you believe in yourself, when you work hard, when you learn and you apply and you make mistakes and you learn from your mistakes, eventually you have to make these leaps of faith. And so they're not blind faith, right? But what I would challenge you to do is go back and really listen and think about what I just said, right? Do you know how to get clients? Can you charge them more? If you know how to get clients, right? If you can say, hey, I'm growing my boot camp one or two people a month. I'm growing my client base one or two people. When you can figure out that problem, it's going to be a lot easier to let go of the other things because you know that you have figured something out about your company. But if you still do not know where clients come from, if you still don't know how much you charge them, if you still haven't figured out how to give them a better value, how to promote yourself, you still haven't started a boot camp and grown it to 5 people, 10 people, right? You have to prove yourself, right? If you can have a boot camp go from 0 to 5 people, then you have figured out how to get 5 people. That means that you can go from 5 to 10 because you figured it out. If you can go from one client to 5 one-on-one clients, whatever it is that you figured out to go from 1 to 5 is what you need to keep doing to get from 5 to 10, right? So right now you just have to figure out how to predict and control some elements of your business, right? If you want to be in business, you have to show that you understand business to some degree. This doesn't have to be complicated. So, what I want you to figure out right now is, do I have a system, even if it's rudimentary? I'm telling you, even if it's just running ads on Instagram, or if it's just going to the park and passing out coupons for your boot camp. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you have to know that you are making it happen. That's the part that a lot of trainers are missing. You have to know that when you went to the park and you passed out coupons, that resulted in a new person in your boot camp. If you know that, you're going to feel empowered. If you ran an ad and at the end of the month, somebody called you from that ad and you spent $100, $300, $500, but somebody called you and they said, I want to train with you. Now you have information that you need that can help you next month. Now you know I'm going to run it again and get another one, right? That's the part that we're missing. You need to understand what you're doing to cause a certain reaction, right? You need to understand the cause and effect of your business. A lot of trainers get clients because we just happen to be in the right place at the right time, right? You cannot explain to me how you got it. And that's the most important thing. If you can explain to me how you grew your boot camp, if you can explain to me how you get clients, how you sell training, why you charge more, how you get them to pay more, how you get them to get results, how you get referrals, when you understand the how of that and you can explain it to someone, this is how I get clients, this is how I grow my boot camp, this is how I get referrals, your ability to explain that will answer all of the questions that you have. You won't have to, ask any more questions. You'll go, okay, whatever I did to grow my boot camp to 10 people, I can do it again. I can get it to 20. I can get another boot camp going and get that one to 10. Now I have two boot camps with 10 people. Now I can hire someone so I can dedicate my time to start a third one or to open a location. You see how everything starts to steamroll when you learn how to actually get it done. If you're just getting clients because they're part of your church or your organization or because it's a friend of a friend, that's just kind of falling on your lap. And most trainers, if I'm being honest with all of you guys, a lot of trainers, this is the hard part. How do you go from just kind of randomly getting some clients in your community to actively getting clients based on your decisions, based on your cause and effect, based on your trial and error, right? When you figure that out, a lot of answers start to come to you. All right. Some things to think about. I wish you all the best, Joanna. I got your email. I appreciate you following up, sending me more information. I know it's complicated. I know it's difficult. I know you feel all sorts of feelings right now. I just want you to know I have felt all those feelings as well. I felt like quitting. I have felt like crying. I have felt like I don't know what I'm doing. I have felt like my dreams are not going to come true. All of these things have happened. But at the end of the day, you have to confront that and be stronger than that and want what you want more than the pain that it takes to acquire it. So I hope this helps you and anybody listening to any degree. Um, Again, you guys follow me on Instagram at Personal Trainer Hustle. Send me a DM or go to personaltrainerhustle.com and fill out the form to send in your own personal question as well. We'll turn it into an episode. Until next time, talk to you guys soon.